Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com, dwyervip.com. Remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. Let's talk about HBO'S show where they had Saul Alvarez and his trainer sitting across the table from Amir Khan and his trainer with Max Kellerman between them, right? That video is now here on YouTube and it's being circulated, right? I would encourage you to just Google, Saul Alvarez, Max Kellerman, Amir Khan. The video will pop right up. Now, I thought this was one of the more revealing shows of this type, right? If you're a gambler and you're looking at this show, you're just looking to find out information that might help you understand the fight, right? Figure out a betting angle. Figure out who you're going to bet on. Get information that you didn't have before. Now let me back up just a little bit. And let me encourage those investigating this Saul Alvarez Amir Khan fight to go to boxrec.com, boxrec.com. Look up Saul Alvarez's record, right? His history of fights. You're going to see that there's a link that you can hit to find out more about Saul Alvarez's fight against Miguel Cotto. Now understand, boxing fans like to think of themselves as a nation, right? There's a cable outfit in the UK called Box Nation, right? We the fans, we show up at weigh-ins and things like that, and we think that we all are in agreement on a lot of things. But we're not, right? Events take place. It's like the Kennedy assassination. Events take place. There were a lot of people there in Dealey Plaza or ringside in the arena watching the fight. And you have a lot of people with a lot of different opinions. Now, Saul Alvarez, for whatever reason, gives performances that are open to interpretation, where some people will look and see dominance, right? And these are people who have been in the sport a long time, who've seen a lot of fights, right? Other folks will look and will see something else. So you'll have situations where Floyd Mayweather is fighting Saul Alvarez. Dan Rayfield, ESPN's boxing analyst, looking at the fight after the first 6 rounds, has Floyd Mayweather pitching a shutout, right? I'm looking at the fight, and I'm wondering whether Canelo is going to win a round, right? It was several rounds before Canelo won a round on my scorecard. But yet one of the judges had that fight a draw. Think about it, right? In Floyd Mayweather's illustrious career, it's very hard to find fights where a judge actually thinks that the opponent did as well as Floyd Mayweather, right? But yet that's exactly what happened in the Canelo fight. Well, Canelo Cotto is interesting for me, as the link on BoxRec will show you. Because I saw that fight live, right? Not in the arena, but I was in a bar surrounded by a bunch of people. I saw that fight as it happened. I thought Cotto was masterful. Now, to my amazement, hey, life's a learning experience. I learned a lot that night. The people around me thought Canelo won the fight. So I was astonished. A round would take place. Cotto would get in, land shots. Canelo would throw punches, right? Canelo, would try to counter him. But Cotto would seem to me to have a hand up. Cotto would seem to know the punches were coming, and Cotto would be rolling with the punch, right? So I saw a lot of Canelo punches, one man's opinion. I saw a lot of Canelo punches landing on Cotto's forearms. Let's just say I saw Canelo landing punches on Cotto where Cotto wanted them to be landed. So the fight reached a point where I thought, okay, Canelo, big puncher, one of the biggest punchers in boxing, looked physically bigger than Cotto. I thought, wow, Canelo needs a knockout here to win the fight. And when the fight ended, it was clear that the folks in Canelo's corner thought that Canelo had won the fight. When people hopped in the ring before the, decision came down from the judges, right? You could tell that the guys who hopped in the ring, who, were close to the ring, who knew Canelo, who were around Canelo, right? Canelo's circle, we'll call it. They were enthusiastic. They were expecting good news. Now, let me say this. Canelo got good news. He won the fight by, and I'm just going to give you the margin of victory on the judges' scorecards, right? The scoring is on the BoxRec site, right? One judge had Canelo winning the 12-round fight by 8 rounds. Another judge had him winning the 12-round fight by 10 rounds, right? That's 11-1, right? The third judge had Canelo winning the fight by 6 rounds. In other words, Cotto, according to the judges, could have been awarded 5 more rounds and still would have had problems winning the fight. Right? Think about it. So let me just say this. Ring Magazine, widely considered to be the Bible of boxing. That's what it was called when I was a kid. Doug Fisher of Ring Magazine, and all of this is on the BoxRec site, had it 9-3 for Canelo. Harold Letterman, you might know him, the guy on HBO, right? Also had it a wide score, right? In Canelo's favor. Now, I came on here after that fight, and I made a video where, and I understand I sound like a complete nut at times here, but I was honest. I said, hey, I saw the fight. I'm shocked. I thought Cotto won the fight. If you listen to the comments of Cotto's corner, Freddie Roach, who knows a thing or two about boxing, he was talking to Cotto as if they had a lead in the fight. Right? Well, Nacho Beristain, who knows a thing or two about boxing, right? I believe Nacho's in the Hall of Fame, right? You might know Nacho as the trainer of people like Juan Manuel Marquez, right? Countless others. He used to be the trainer for Johnny Gonzalez, right? This is a trainer of several guys who have had, let's say, a lot of success in the sport. He gave an interview, and I didn't know it, right? I believe the interview came out after my video. Right? I'm not saying the two are linked. I'm just giving you a timeline. He gave an interview where he said, look, I thought Saul Alvarez lost the fight. Right? Think about it. So, unbeknownst to me, TV Azteca, and this is listed on the BoxRec site, and keep in mind, Cotto's Puerto Rican, Canelo is Mexican. TV Azteca had Cotto winning the fight 117-111. In other words, this was that boxing event where people agree the fight wasn't close. But folks just can't agree on who won the fight. Right? So, I know many of you are firmly convinced that Saul Alvarez is the future of boxing. Right? There's an outcry out there. People want to see Saul Alvarez against Gennady Golovkin, or Gennady Golovkin, however you want to pronounce it. Right? Saul Alvarez is box office. Right? The only fight Floyd Mayweather had in his career that generated more money than the Saul Alvarez fight was his fight against Manny Pacquiao. Right? Now let's fast forward to the HBO show with Max Kellerman, Amir Khan, Virgil Hunter, Canelo's trainer, and Canelo. Right? Now first, as I'm watching the show, and we're all looking at different things, right? I just couldn't take my eyes off of Saul Alvarez's neck. Folks, it's huge. Now understand, they're selling the fight to us as a catchweight 155 fight. If you Google Saul Alvarez here online, right, you're going to come across statements from people, talking about how Saul Alvarez has just arrived at middleweight, 160, right, and how he's just, figuring things out, right? Saul Alvarez is the middleweight champion. He has a share of the title. Understand, the champion, the guy who has big box office. When you're negotiating with a champ who has big box office, you can imagine he gets a lot of things in his favor. So on the show, you're going to look at Saul Alvarez, who is 5'9", listed at 5'9". I suspect he's shorter, right? You're going to look at him and you're going to think, okay, well, the catch weight on the fight is 155. Saul Alvarez has just moved up to middleweight, right? Amir Khan is jumping multiple weight classes for this fight. So the 155 is supposed to accommodate both men, right? Then you look at Saul Alvarez's neck and you understand this guy doesn't weigh 155. He has a big neck. I mean, his neck's bigger than my neck. And trust me, 155 is not even on my scale. I haven't seen that for several years, right? He has a huge neck. Well, then they actually start talking. And you know the rest. Saul Alvarez on the show is asked whether he's entered the ring for a fight at 180 pounds. Saul Alvarez makes it clear that he hasn't, right? He's entered the fight, he's entered the ring at 170. 170, folks, right? You're hearing it from a good source. The fighter himself is telling you on the show that he enters fights weighing as much as 170 pounds. Right? That's 2 pounds above super middleweight. Right? Then we get another bombshell. Amir Khan isn't, eating a lot of calories to gain weight to fight at 155. No. He himself is cutting weight. So let's ask the obvious question here. If you have two guys who have to lose weight to make weight, and if they're fighting for the middleweight title, can somebody here on YouTube in the comment section to this video please tell me why we have a catch weight? Right? I don't get it. Right? Why have a catch weight when, both guys have to lose weight to get to it? Lose a lot of weight. Lose weight to the point where one guy is telling you that after the weigh-in, he likely is going to have to gain 15 pounds. Right? 15 pounds. Let me say this too. So you're looking at the two guys, and you look at Amir Khan's neck. Amir Khan looks in shape. He doesn't have the big neck. Right? He doesn't look to me, well, put it this way. He admits, and this is a shocker, that he turned down more money to fight Kell Brook, to take this fight, right? The telecast is flooded with platitudes. The guys say, oh, I want to fight the best out there. That's why I turned down and stuff. All I'm saying is this. Amir Khan reveals that he has to cut weight to make 155 here. And he turns down more money for a surefire blockbuster fight at 147. That tells me that Amir Khan, in my opinion, right, understands that his body is more comfortable at the higher weight. Right? Why else would you turn down more money for a fight at 147 to fight a guy at 155? Let me say this too. When a world-class fighter like Amir Khan decides he's going to accept less money to fight a guy at a higher weight, that tells me that Amir Khan believes, truly believes, that he can beat the guy at the higher weight. That the guy at the higher weight, based on styles, might be an easier fight for him. We know it's not about the money because the guy is passing up the bigger money fight for this fight. Right? Let me say this too. Look closely at Canelo. He's a good-looking guy. No question about it. He's a good-looking guy. But the camera here seems to linger on him and get a little bit too close to him. Right? As you look closely at him, you notice his nose isn't quite straight. Look at his forehead. His forehead looks like it's taken some shots. You can tell that Canelo is a professional fighter. You could tell that Canelo has some wear on his tire. Right? Investigate Canelo a little bit further. You're going to find that, like the lead character in the recent Rocky movie, Canelo has had some fights in Mexico that no one knows about. Right? Canelo himself, just Google him, investigate him here online. Canelo himself admits that he beat a bunch of guys. I'm not talking about 2 or 3 fights, folks. I'm talking about more than 5 fights. He beat a bunch of guys who aren't included on his record. Right? His record's actually better than it is. Understand, Canelo is only 25 years old. Right? As you look at him, people need to understand that there's chronological age, right? That's the age when you do the math from your birthday. And then there's boxing age. Right? How many wars has a guy been in? How many shootouts has a guy been in? That Alfredo Angulo fight, wasn't that a tough, grueling fight? Let me say, Canelo's trainer is excellent on the show. You know, he's complimentary of Amir Khan, he's respectful, but then he gets off the line where he talks about how they've been in a few fights where Canelo was at risk of losing. And then by the grace of God, they were able to pull through. Right? You know, the fight with Cotto's older brother, folks, that was grueling. Canelo started that fight, and it was roughhouse for a while. Canelo beat Josecito Lopez. He did. He wins the fight convincing fashion. But understand, Josecito Lopez wasn't a wallflower. There are moments in that fight where they're going at it. Right? They're going at it. Right? My point to you is Canelo is an old 25. Right? Let's just say, I know people say, oh, he's young, he's the future, and stuff like that. He's young, but has been hit enough times where when you look at his forehead, it looks to me like the forehead of a veteran fighter. Understand, too, the way he treats himself, the yo-yoing of weight, right? 15 pounds between the weigh-in and the night of the fight, right? Think about it, right? I'm just telling you that nothing ages you faster, other than, drugs and stuff like that. Nothing ages you faster than yo-yoing weight and stuff like that. Let me just add, as an aside, Tyson Fury worries me right now. I think he's the better fighter than Vladimir Klitschko. But Vladimir Klitschko is in top condition today. Tyson Fury, for their upcoming fight this summer, is going to have to lose 30 pounds. Think about it, to get to his fighting weight. But understand the 30, which is ridiculous, is only twice as many pounds as Canelo is going to gain between the weigh-in and the fight. Right? Sooner or later, these guys who yo-yo in weight end up being Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. Let me say this too, and I thought it was interesting. I thought it was an interesting line. Amir Khan, on the show, owns up to having had bad moments in the ring. Right? Kellerman is masterful. Right? He's asking these guys tough questions, but he's trying to come across like your next door neighbor. Right? So it's a tough question, but Kellerman makes it sound like he's just being conversational. Right? Well, he basically turns to Amir Khan and says, hey, you've had some tough moments in the ring. And Khan says, yeah, I did. But, that was when I was relatively young and inexperienced. Then Khan gives ages. He says, that was when I was 24 and 25. In other words, Khan's telling you, look, back then I didn't remotely know what I know about boxing now. Right? And of course, unsaid is the fact that sitting across the ring from him is a guy who's 25. Right? The show closes with Virgil Hunter saying he'd love to be a fly on the wall to see exactly how Canelo gains 25 pounds between the weigh-in and the start of the fight. So then Kellerman corrects him and says, hey, it's not quite 25 pounds. It's only 15 pounds. Right. Gaining 15 pounds before an athletic event. Right? So, let me say this. I think the public really, depending on which side of the aisle you're on, depending on how you view Canelo's past fights, right? And understand, and I know many of you have told me I'm a hater on Canelo. Trust me, I'm not. I'm just someone who's trying to figure things out here, right? I thought Canelo lost the Austin Trout fight. I thought Canelo lost the Miguel Cotto fight. TV Azteca thought Canelo lost the Miguel Cotto fight. Not by photo finish, but by a wide margin. Nacho Beristain in interviews has said that Canelo needs to redeem himself from the Miguel Cotto fight. That's the word, redeem himself. Right? This is in a fight that one judge had him winning by 8 rounds, another judge had him winning by 10 rounds. If you start questioning what the judges have to say, if you believe that Saul Alvarez had problems with Cotto, right? If you believe Saul Alvarez had problems with Austin Trout, and as I've said, look at the CompuBox numbers on the fight, right? If you believe those things, then you understand that the Las Vegas odds for his fight against Amir Khan are ridiculous. That this fight isn't about Amir Khan gaining weight to fight at 155. This is about Amir Khan, as he himself tells you on this HBO show, losing weight to fight at 155. Right after taking this fight for less money than he was offered to fight Kell Brook at 147. Right? Dig deeper into Amir Khan's background and you're going to find out that Amir Khan used to spar with Kell Brook. Right? He knows Kell Brook. They've been in the ring together. And yet Amir Khan has decided to take less money to fight a guy against whom he's unfamiliar with. Right? So, in reading comments online here, many people are saying Saul Alvarez is simply too big for Amir Khan. Too big. Right? On the show, I believe it's Virgil Hunter, makes the point that Saul Alvarez doesn't use his size in the ring. Right? Alvarez is not a guy who, is clinching you and then leaning on you. I believe Alvarez is getting by on timing. He has great timing. Right? He has great timing. On timing, technique, he's a younger version of Vladimir Klitschko. And huge punching power. Right? I believe those are his calling cards. I don't believe he's a grappler. The kind of guy who comes in and is leaning on your shoulder and is, using weight and stuff like that. So if his weight advantage isn't material or as material as people think, and if this fight becomes more about speed, right? Since, as they point out on the show, Canelo is an excellent counterpuncher. Let's ask the question. I'll end the video on this question. And I know it's a long video. Right? Who's the toughest type of fighter to counterpunch? Right? Who? I would say it's a fighter with hand speed who throws combinations. Right? It's hard to counter a guy who has you covering up while he's throwing a blizzard of punches, isn't it? I don't think the styles here bode well for Saul Alvarez. Right? I think on this show, as you're looking at Saul's neck and you realize this guy is going to be carrying extra weight in the ring that slows him down, like luggage slows you down at an airport. Right? As you realize that the 155 is actually a weight that Amir Khan has to lose weight to get to. As you look at Amir Khan, and he doesn't look bloated, he doesn't look like he's carrying fake weight. No, he literally looks like he's in great shape. Right? The guy looks in great shape on the show. Right? And as you realize that there are a group of people out there who watch boxing, TV Azteca, who thought Saul Alvarez lost the last fight for, by a wide margin. You have to ask yourself, with this betting line that has Saul Alvarez as a big favorite, how do you know which set of judges are going to show up? Right? Understand that if the guys from TV Azteca were judging the Cotto fight, Canelo loses that fight by a wide margin. right? Their scorecards are up, their scoring's up at the BoxRec link to the Cotto Alvarez fight. Right? So all I'm saying is if you know there are differences of opinion on a fighter out there, big differences on the guy's effectiveness in the ring, and if you know that the guy, right, is going to be carrying a lot of weight, and that his opponent is the kind of guy who moves far better than him in the ring, right? Forget Khan's hand speed for a moment. Focus on his foot speed. And if you know Khan is a combination puncher, where it's hard to get off counters on him, then don't you think Khan has a chance in this fight? I do, especially after watching this HBO show. Anyway, that's how I see it. Let me hear from you. Leave your comments for me here online. Visit us at gamblersadvisory.com. Let me just say, I feel Canelo's only chance of winning this fight is by KO. Right? The bet I'm recommending on the fight is Khan to shock the world, hedged with Canelo by KO. Right? That's how I see it. Tell us all how you see it in the comment section to this video. Thanks for stopping by.